Ha 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 ha. Please tell me that worked. It's registering. Oh my goodness. Meet the sounding as well as ever. You right? You right. I am not the brains of this operation, and I cannot function in a stream without Freak, apparently. That's how I do, guys. If I can stream by myself, I am guaranteed to F it up. That's what I do, guys. I am a walking train wreck waiting to hit the go live button. That's what happens. What is up, beautiful people? It is your technologically inept Wolfbrother Mythos from the channel Frost and Fist, and welcome to the show. Tonight, of course, for the last about 3 weeks, I've been doing kind of a midweek painting stream using my new setup. And, yeah, I'm really stoked, and I'm glad that it's been able to keep up for 3 weeks in a row now. Yeah, I got some orcs I need to paint up. Now, I'm not so technically... Oh, man, stop smacking the camera, Mythos. I'm not technically supposed to show you guys yet, because this is for a little bit of a competition piece that's supposed to get turned in Friday. But just for you guys, I've got a couple of you here. So just for a sneak peek, I showed this off on the pickle jar earlier today. But, yeah, this is my Grot Rocket Boy. So, just a fun little piece. There we go. Zoom Mythos. There we go. Yeah, just a fun little piece. Some flames, a grot strapped to a rocket. I really like the little detail of some binoculars there, like he's trying to point out to the orc where he should go. And again, this is not the first time sneak peeking him. He was on the pickle jar today. And if you want to see some really awesome paint work every week, I definitely recommend going over to the pickle jar and checking out their weekly stream where they do a Loki approved every single week. If you go down to the description below, there is a link tree to all of my Chilling Network brothers, and the Pickle Jar is absolutely one of my favorite channels to watch of all time. But yeah, I submitted this earlier today for Loki approved, and I'm going to turn him in Friday. Now, also to give you guys a little peek, so this is the little competition or whatever, the painting challenge we're doing. I'm teaming up with the Commodore, friend of the channel. And it's supposed to be heroes versus fodder, I think is the name of the event. So there's supposed to be 3 baddies versus 1 hero. And Commodore's handling the Space Marine hero. And oh man, I've seen some of his work. He's doing an epic job. So for the fodder, the bad guys, there's supposed to be 3 minions trying to attack this 1 hero. So I've got 2 of them here with the orc yeeting this grot rocket. And oh my god, I gotta stop smacking the camera. I am so sorry, guys. Somebody's gonna be motion sick by the end of this. So my other sneak peek here is there's a little green stuff here, so forgive some of the splotches. But I've got this grot oiler here, and Freak 3D printed me this little missile here. And I've got the pointing motion, I've got the welder's mask, because I thought it kind of would fit someone who's running weapons and ammo. And yeah, I've got this big ass rocket he's lugging it around, pointing out where to explode things, and probably not realizing he's about to be airborne like his buddy here. So I think they'll go well together. And these will be my 3 baddies versus Commodore's 1 Space Marine hero. So pretty excited, pretty excited. But I would love to start painting him tonight, but I gotta let the green stuff cure. That is one area where I tend to mess up, is handling green stuff before it's ready. So I'm gonna let it cure overnight, and I'll get to painting it in the morning. But since this has gotten me into, of course, a green skin kind of mood, I'd figure I'd move on to some of the cool things that I've been wanting to paint up from GearGuts Miniatures. So I've got some tank hunters here to run as my tank busters, and I did the airbrushing on the skin earlier this week, I think, or maybe just at the end of last week. So I got the airbrushing on the skin done, and some Ludas. I'm gonna let you guys pick. Do I want to do the anti-vehicle damage here, or do I want to do the big gun? Do I want to put the Ludas up first? You guys tell me. Tank busters or Ludas first? This is gonna be fun. I can show off the Marine that Commodore's do. All right. Well, I'm going to see if I can share that Marine without breaking the live stream because it is looking sweet so far. All right. Open up a window for Art of the Week. Ciao. Thank you, by the way, Commodore. And 1 second while we set this window capture up, we're going to properties. We are going to Messenger. Nope, that is not the right window. Okay, we're going to hide that window. Art of the Week window. That was the right one. Messenger. Guys, you can tell I am so pro at this. Here we go. That's the right one. That's the right one. Good night, Pirate Queen. Thank you for checking in with me. So, yeah, this is the hero that my brother, the Commodore, is working on for the Heroes versus Minions set. And he's got this badass blade guard here. Just wiping away that blade, ready to walk in and kick some ass. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be really awesome. While I let you guys take a look at Commodore's beautiful piece of work here, I'm going to run through the chat. Of course, we've got Marcos and Brack in the house with a wah. We got X-Gear Commander. Where's Freak? Actually, so, like, I'm doing these midweek streams as a painting stream of opportunity, really. Nothing I really have scheduled as of yet. So, since it's just me kind of doing it as and when I can, I'm not even trying to, match up schedules with Freak. So there'll be some weeks like last week where he happens to be free and available and he might join me. And then there'll be some weeks like this week where it's just going to be me. X-Gear also says for Ball, one of my favorite Blood Angels. He looks very animated. We can just guess at what he's saying. Oh, man. The Grot's so cute and fluffy. Sneak peek. Yep, absolutely. Lupus, good to see you. Is that what I think it's for? That depends on what you think it's for. Not going to be able to stay as it's past my bedtime. I'm glad you got to come by for a little bit, Pirate Queen. Do tank busters. Oh, this is going to be a Judiciary. Oh, that is a really cool pose for a Judiciary I would never have thought of. That's awesome. Very cool, my brother. All right, so I'm going to do some tank busters then. We're going to switch back over to the painting cam. Oh, the fact that I managed to do that without breaking anything pleases me. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is take some of my black paint. And I think the first thing I need to do is go over and just clean up all the overspray that I've done. Because while I love using the airbrush, I am not the most practiced at the airbrush. So there's definitely... I feel like I can get in and do some pretty clean detail with the airbrush, but there's definitely times when I'm doing things like orc skin where there's going to be lots of overspray to clean up. You know what's funny? And I don't just mean airbrushing for this next part, but I mean just in general. I came across so many tips about painting, hyper focusing, trying to do research when I first got into this hobby. But one thing that never really was said to me at first, and of course, obviously, this is going to be one of those super simple things. It's like, why would you need anyone to tell you that? But I think part of it's just my personality. I always expect myself to get stuff perfect. And You know, I can be frustrated when things don't go exactly as perfectly as I intend to. And so one of the things I never really knew for, I would say, a good few months into my hobby, I used to get so stressed painting, is that it's going to happen to have things like overspray, misstrokes, and that half of the paint job in some cases is just going back and cleaning up those lines, cleaning up those misstrokes or those oversprays, and just blending it all in to look good. Cleanup is okay. Cleanup is an expected part of the hobby. And of course, I'm not even painting on camera. Guys, I'm so good at this. Scoot my mic over a little bit without hopefully messing anything up. So that way I can make sure I try and do a better job of staying on camera. But yeah, so it took me months and months to get to that. And I would get so stressed out over every misstroke when I was painting before. Man, I've had these Gearguts miniatures for a couple of months now. I'm really excited to actually be laying down some paint on it, because Gearguts has the thickest, like juicy, 2 C's when I say thick, maybe even 2 C's and a Q, the thickest orcs I've seen on the market. They beefy, they bold, baby. When you look at the artwork of, you know, orcs versus, like, say, Imperial Guards, and you read the lore, and there's supposed to be these big mountains of physically imposing muscle, you know, I feel like these are the kind of models that match that imagery better than, you know, and I'm not dissing on them in any kind of way, but much better than the Games Workshop models. Kaiju, my brother. Good to see you, my friend. Kaiju, my man, I know you are done with your run of AdMech for the moment, but have you seen the new AdMech models? What do you think? Do you think they look pretty cool? New book coming out, they're getting some new stats, and in some cases even some a new play style, really. It's going to be interesting to see the changes. I've had to learn the 3 feet rule because I paint so up close. I notice every mistake and imperfection. Yeah, exactly. It can be easy to be hard on yourself when you really stress over every misstroke. But, you know, as I've come to find, as a lot of brilliant people in our hobby all say, it's just paint. So anytime that we have a mistake, we can remove paint. We can paint over it. As my brother, also in the Chili Network, Rich from Spray Black Studio, says, we can always spray it black and start again. Obviously, maybe we don't want to start again. We want to try and, you know, make it work. But I'm just saying the opportunity is always there. There's virtually nothing you can do with paint that's so bad that you've just ruined the project. You know who's the first tutorial I think that made me realize that messing up was part of the process? I think it was Apathetic Fish. You know, because he used to actually include in his tutorials that, hey, if you have a misstroke, it's okay. Just go back with this color and clean it up. Get those lines looking sharp. think it was the first time I actually heard it and was thought to myself, okay, messing up can be part of the process. Good day. I'm at work, but I can listen. Good to see you. Weather Pig, my man. Hi, you. Can't say I've looked into them yet, although I was thinking about grabbing a couple more unit types for funsies to break up the impending Tyranid project. Oh, I'm so excited to see those Tyranids. I see a red orc, and I want to paint it black. I start off OCD, and as I'm wrapping up the model, I get to the Beckett mode. Yep. It is easy to lose your patience and get to the good enough. Now I totally get that. Oh, and you know what? I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but often I will screw something up so bad that I lose my painting or building or hobby mojo in general for the night. And I think I'm getting better about identifying this when I need to put it down and walk away. Because I used to try and push past the frustration, but my problem is that I run into the cycle of the more frustrated I get, the worse I do, the worse I do, the more frustrated I get, the more frustrated I get, yada, 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 and really spiral with it. So now I think I identify that a little better, and I think I do a better job of knowing when I need to put it down for the night. Give you a good example. I was doing the conversion piece here for baddie number 3 last night, and this was like this arm was a standard grot like pistol arm. And this one, and I say pistol arm, but really it's a grot oiler, so it was like the little oiling tool thing. It was this model right here. Good side-by-side comparison. So it had like this thing, which I had originally converted up to be a gun, and a little squig under its arm, right? And so I drilled out the squig and had just left this arm like it would be holding a rocket. And the gun was just randomly pointing. Anyways, so I drilled out this squig and I was cleaning it up, and I thought the arm looked kind of chonky, which honestly, once I shoved the missile underneath, probably wouldn't have even shown, but it was bothering me. So I took my file and tried to just grind it down, and the arm went snap and flew off into the oblivion. Yeah, I still haven't seen it. Like, it literally, once it touches my floor, it goes into the warp. It's gone forever. And so I couldn't find it, and I was so frustrated because I was almost done with my conversion for the night. And I didn't know what I was going to do with the conversion, how I was going to continue, yada, yada. I put it down for the rest of the night. I was just like, man, I've completely messed it up. I've only got a couple days left in this challenge. What do I do? And I went to bed. And when I woke up this morning, I remembered that I had a mech gun somewhere that's half built, and I hadn't even started with the grots yet for it. And so I was looking through the mech gun, and I found this grot arm with a little green stuff and a little re-angling was perfect for grabbing this rocket. And then I was able to replace the gun arm with this pointing finger, and I think overall I got a better conversion out of it, having to come back to it the next day. When I'm getting so frustrated, the heat from my body starts boiling the water jar, it's time to stop. Amen to that, brother. Amen. Boo, painting at bedtime mythos. I'm sorry, Wybird. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've been doing a couple of these on a Wednesday, so, you know, unfortunately, I'll be painting at your bedtime quite a bit. I think this is my third week in a row doing a midweek stream. It's funny how stressed we allow ourselves to be sometimes over nothing can really affect how good of a... Man, if you don't stop with the autofocus, I'm going to slap this camera. Anyways, how good or bad we're doing at something, how frustrated we get could really hinder us in other ways that we may not have expected. Last week, I've got this brand new streaming setup that is perfect for one person. When I had my brother on last week, I was worried about the way that my camera was positioned and, the way the stream was running. I had not taken the time to actually set up and really think it out and test things for a multi-person stream while painting. And like I said, Freak normally runs our Friday night stream where we normally have multiple people on. I clearly had not put thought into this. So I was stressing out last week during our midweek stream. And I'm sitting there and I'm painting and I'm chatting, but I'm constantly looking up, and my camera placement was bad last week because when I was sitting up, the camera would look at me in the face, but whenever I'd stoop over to paint and bend over, the camera was really just catching a close-up of my forehead. The Frost and Fist forehead stream. And so my camera placement was messing me up. And I just thought, because I hadn't put any thought to it, I thought, the quality of the stream was going downhill. And then next thing you know, my commentary, I felt like was all off. And I was like, what am I even talking about? It's funny because I think of myself as a pretty natural conversationalist typically. But, because I was stressing out last week and my focus was on other things, I was just constantly like, what am I even saying right now? You ever get because you're half distracted, half stressed about something else, you ever get to a point in a conversation where you realize you've just repeated yourselves 3 times? It's funny because I have an uncle that Crawley! Oh my goodness. Evening, Mythos. First time catching you live as the time difference is a killer. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's good to see you, Crawley, my man. Spray Black Studios. Rich, my man, I was just quoting you. And I was talking about cleaning up a model and how there's nothing we can do to a model when painting that's just going to jack it up beyond repair. And then I quoted you saying that, if you really feel like you've done a bad job painting it, you can always spray it black and start again. Is this a good time to stream for the Americas? So this time slot is a little bit earlier than typically I see a lot of our primetime fellow Americans stream. This just happens to be good for me because it's, typically just after I get off work, but, earlier than I have to actually start making dinner and whatnot for the family. So this is a pretty good in-between time for myself. I can't speak for all of the Americas, though. Painting evening for the East Coast, early afternoon for the West Coast, so it's a fair time. There we go. Grawley, my friend, how have you been? How have those Valkyries come along? I hope they've been... I imagine, as with the amazing painting chops you've got, those Valkyries are probably all done, converted up, painted beautifully, as you do. I do like these Rocket Boys. Yeah, these are some of my... Actually, so I did kind of a little researching because I really don't care for the GW Tank Busters. And so I checked out a couple of different companies, orks that are replacement for Tank Busters. And I just really felt like these particular ones are the coolest ones in my opinion. I don't even know what it is about these little, this style of rocket launcher I like so much. I just think it looks really cool. I know cleaning up and painting black over all the armor panels where I've oversprayed with the airbrush is probably like the most exciting part of working on orcs. But man, that is definitely one of the reasons why I enjoy doing stuff like this with you guys during a stream, because doing tedious little stuff like this, like, you know, just coloring in oversprayed panels, honestly is one of those tedious things that just goes better when you've got someone to chat with. Valkyries are done. I'll get over here in the UK and working on some long fangs. Nice. Very nice. Very similar to your Valkyries, you know, as Lady Space Marines. One of the things I saw was there's this really cool Stormcast Eternal lady with like she's in kind of a almost of an acrobatic kind of pose with a long lance or spear, and I've seen someone convert that up into a White Scars Blade Guard captain, and you know, putting some like samurai armor bits and stuff like that on her, and I just thought she made such a cool conversion for that. And I'm like, you know what, I don't care if people don't like female Space Marines, I've got to do this conversion. Of course, after seeing that conversion, I haven't seen that model available for anything less than $70. So I'll get my hands on her one day, but it made me think of you and those Valkyries you're working on. I need to go back and watch your series on Futhark runes again, Grawly, my friend. I have fallen behind it in my studies, and I cannot remember how to write in runic anymore. Especially now that I'm doing things like drawing and freehanding on my Space Wolf model, or on my models more often. I think being handy with some of those runes could be really good. Sweet. That would be excellent, my friend. I would love to see your work on those. Because I think you had just finished converting them last time I'd seen them, if I'm remembering correctly. I also am aware that I have CRS and cannot remember anything. Jeez. This is my third week doing the stream, and this is the worst I've had of a problem with the autofocus on. There we go. All right. I'm interested to see what your long fangs look like. Jackson Crawford. I'll make sure to check him out. Speaking of Space Wolf conversions, I know this is an orc stream right now, but for my fellow Space Wolf, I got to show a little Space Wolf project I've been working on. Apologize for all the shaky shake. This is my conversion I'm doing for a Blade Guard captain at the moment. Boop. So, focus. Okay, there we go. But yeah, hard to see the detail on the plain gray plastic, but This guy's got a bit of a an undercut hair with a short beard. Got Lehman Russ's body. Got some of my energy weapon glows that I love doing. I think this is going to be a really cool stand-in for a blade guard. You guys did not see me just dip my entire hand in the black paint. That was just getting some Mac camera me. All right, back to the work. Loving that conversion. Thank you very much. I don't know what's got into me lately. Like, almost every project I've done lately, for any of my armies, White Scars, Orcs, Space Wolves, I've just really had a problem with building out of the box lately. I feel like I've had to put some kind of spin on my armies lately. Whether it's using 30K parts or model stand-ins, third-party companies like this guy. There we go. As long as I say center of the screen, it seems to be focusing a little better. Yeah, Kaiju. I gotta make sure that black paint is the right consistency. But yeah, I don't know. When I first started this hobby, I used to be a build it right out of the box kind of guy. However it comes in the instructions. And lately, I've just been really loving putting my spin on everything. That's the orc part of you growing. Speaking of which, another little behind the scenes upcoming thing I haven't even told Freak about yet. I've got a conversion / video coming up that is kind of a tribute, kind of inspired by Brian, the mini war mutt. And it goes back to a really old video he had on his old channel. Before he was mini war mutt, he had a channel called Atomic Dog Scale Model Freak. And back then, he took this really cool, it was like such a plain child's toy, like a Fisher-Price kind of ice cream truck. And I was like, what is he about to do with this Fisher-Price truck? But then he orcified the hell out of it. And by the time he finished converting it, painting it, putting streak and grime on there and weathering powders and stuff, by the time he finished all that, I could not tell that it wasn't a grim dark 40K model. Like, it looked the part. And I could not believe that this had started as a frickin' Fisher-Price ice cream truck. So, anyways, I have been wanting to do a conversion for a cannon wagon lately. And I already have one orc battle wagon that is made from the battle wagon kit. Of course, I put my own stamp on that too. I turned it into a little rock station for a grot. A rock stage for a grot. But still, it's still the base GW kit. And so I'm like, I don't want my second battle wagon to be the same way. Now, I think that's specific to orcs. Because if I had two rhinos as a transport that looked the same, I wouldn't worry about them being the same model. It's supposed to be. But two orc battle wagons, two cobbled together orc transports. I felt like they shouldn't be the exact same body. You know what I mean? Anyways, I was looking back on a memory of, Facebook does those. You've been friends with this person X amount of years. And one of the things it showed was, me sharing Brian's video where he turned that ice cream truck into an orc truck, and I thought it looked amazing. And I was like, you know what? I am inspired. So I went and started looking on eBay for Fisher Price trucks, Tonka trucks, any kind of stuff like that. And ended up with a kid's Cat from the Caterpillar brand of construction vehicles. One of their dump trucks is on their way to me. It should be here tomorrow. And I am going to take some sandpaper, scratch the heck out of that nice shiny plastic, and then start putting some orc bits on there. And I'm going to see if I can recreate what Brian did with that Fisher Price toys a very long time ago. I'm going to see if I can orcify and junkify this Caterpillar dump truck as well. It makes sense, though. When you start, there's no want or confidence to break away because everything's shiny and new and you're scared to break things. I think you're right. Especially, when you first start getting, heck, for a lot of people, you can be 30 years in and the price could still be intimidating to you for GW stuff. GW is not the cheapest model company there is, for sure. For show. However, I think that is definitely more applicable when you're new and you're like, man, this is a $40 model. I don't want to hack into it. I don't want to cut something up I'm going to mess up. And now here I am, a little over 5 years into the hobby, and I'm freaking ordering Forge World parts to chop up for conversions. I do it, but I still can't believe I do that now because, it's Forge World. That's Orksies for you. What gubbins we can weld onto that truck to make it look cooler in good old ramshackle. You right. You are right, my friend. And that's exactly what I plan on doing. Now, hoping to give Brother Brian a little shout out from that as well. Hopefully, I can still find pictures or whatnot, or maybe he'll have some pictures of that ramshackle ice cream truck. It was kind of cool because he remembered I was a big fan of that conversion. And he hit me up a few weeks ago. And he's like, hey, remember this conversion I did? And I was like, oh, yeah, that was amazing. He's like, yeah, I'm taking it apart for parts right now. I'm like, what? No, you can't do that. That's such a fine orc vehicle. He was making something else, though. Maybe he was making something else orky, which fits the theme even more. To break it down from one orc piece to another orc piece. I know it looks like, really wet, like I'm putting this paint on super thick, guys. But I promise you, this stuff is super, super thin. And the guys, Meeks and Big D from Gamecraft Dragon and Commodore, they all make fun of me because my favorite, I've got tons of paints, some of them you know, your fancier, more expensive paint. Like I've got some of the, you know, artist acrylic grade stuff, and I've got some of the fancier stuff from like Scale 75, and of course Vallejo is one of my go-tos, and I have the GW paint. My favorite matte black is Jet Black from Apple Barrel. It's a 50-cent paint you can get at Walmart, and of course because it's like, you know, meant for kids or, you know, at-home crafter kind of, it's like a thicker acrylic, you know. But I always found, because I was using this cheap 50-cent stuff for like terrain and stuff like that, you know, especially my first year in the hobby, so I've got a ton of it around. But one day I ran out of my black model paint. I was using the GW stuff at the time, and of course the acrylic stuff was too thick. So I had a little bit left in the bottle, and I looked up tips on, you know, DIY stuff you can use to thin your paints. And one person suggested Windex, and so I tried that. And man, a little bit of Windex and some cheap 50-cent acrylic black paint. This is the best matte black I've ever worked with. I got a big Nier Automata kit that might be here soon. Pre-ordered it ages ago. I remember when you first pre-ordered that. Not sure if I'm ready for it. Man, with all your work on the really impressive Gundam stuff and that incredibly complicated Mechagodzilla build you did that had like the rubber sleeve on the inside and the mecha stuff on the outside, you got it. Gotta love you and leave you up in 6 hours for work. Man, have a great night, Grawley, and it was so good to catch up with you, my friend. That's your grandson's favorite, too. What's your grandson's favorite? The Apple Barrel paints? That's some MacGyver level paint making. You know, it came from a lot of spamming, especially, like I said, when I first got into this hobby. You know, it was on a budget for sure. And, you know, when I first got into this hobby, a lot of the videos and YouTube videos I looked up at the time were to how to do X, Y, and Z cheaply, you know. And so a lot of these things are tips I picked up from looking up videos like that. Apple Barrel. Am I your grandson? Meeks, are you my grandpa? Driving and texting. Don't do that, my friend. Don't do that. Drive safely. I can wait. Trust me, my friend. I mixed the paint and Windex using a rubber band, a paper clip, and Earth's gravitational. I love that MacGyver still being used as a point of reference. I love seeing the look of people's on people's face when I use MacGyver as a verb. When you know you really gotta jerry rig some shit, and you're like, man, I've got this and this, and I'm just gonna MacGyver this shit and make it happen. All right, so I know the wise thing to do would be to continue with this black paint and go ahead and touch up those Ludas I have in the background from the overspray there. But because I'm terrible at batch painting and lose my mind when I'm trying to batch paint, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the gray pants on these tank busters here. But instead of saying that I'm just bad at instead of just saying I'm bad at batch painting, I'm going to say that I'm just focusing in on these tank busters. What you guys think about that? Is that more believable? Meeks, my friend, I was looking up on the tracker, and I know that you're on the road making that money, so you probably won't even get the chance to see it until Saturday. But allegedly, or allegedly, as my goofy friends and I sometimes say, your package I sent should be there today. And if you weren't driving, I'd be very curious to know what your grandson does with Applebear, what he paints. I think it's great to get kiddos into the hobby kind of early. Man, I got my kiddos. You know, they enjoy painting from time to time, and typically I'll get them like, you know, little art supply kits at like Hobby Lobby and Michael's and stuff like that, you know, for the kids to paint. You know, typically, man, I am off camera again. But typically they'll have things like, you know, a ceramic animal, or one of those plastic stained glass effect kind of designs and whatnot, and they'll come with, you know, sets that you can use acrylic paint on for like an at-home crafts kind of thing. And my kids usually love that stuff, and they had been interested in the stuff Daddy paints for a while. And then about 5-6 months ago, I had them each paint up a Space Marine. Man, they have not asked to come back to my hobby table since then. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just maybe Space Marines that they're not that interested in, or if it's you know, just the way we do the little plastic soldiers in general. But hey, everybody's got different tastes, and they may come back to it again. I saw that Mechagodzilla kit on a shelf in Melbourne. Nice. Just like you, he eats it. Gosh. Nom nom nom. Man, I'm not allowed to drink anymore. I've got to have something to put in these shot glasses, Meeks. Oh man, what a rough day at work. I'm going to have an apple barrel double. Man, I came across the Twitch channel for Critical Role last night. And, you know, I didn't actually stop to watch their D&D game. I just kind of like had it on in the background. But it reminded me that, man, I did like a beginner session, and I was so rusty at GMing, but I had a beginner D&D session with them a few months ago. I told them we'd come back to, and I'd get them some more D&Ding experience in, and they seemed to enjoy it at the time. But man, I've never actually gone back to actually, you know, work on role playing with them. So that might be my hook to get them back in the hobby a little bit. They seem to enjoy D&D at the time. Not to mention, I kind of miss D&D a little bit myself. The only time is, you know, trying to find time to commit to D&D when you're already doing painting and videogaming and streaming. It'd be hard to make that time for D&D. At least, you know, away from the family. So doing it with the family. 2 birds, 1 stone, right? I'm spending time with the kiddos, and I can D&D. 3 birds, really, because it gets them into the hobby. But I really should pick that back up again. I played a Goths. My pants are gray. unfortunately, it's possibly a disappointment to my brother Spud, who only does the blue pants. Only does the blue pants. I know it probably looks funny me painting straight out of the pot so much, but these are the GW Air paints, and then I mix in a little of Vallejo Flow Improver with them. And so when I shake it up, pretty much the whole pot is pre-thinned. Their consistency I can pour right into the airbrush. And I typically don't have a problem. And I use that same mix for when I'm painting. And typically, because it's thinned out for the airbrush, I can typically go right in and paint straight out of the pot that way. Back in the center, Mythos. Back in the center. The only downside to these nice chunky boys is because they've got some cool, a good bit of armor panels and stuff going on. It can be hard to get at, you know, some of the flat areas underneath, like their cloth pants, because you got armor panels here, you got leather straps here, got more armor panels here at the crotch, you know, here on the ass, and it's just like really trying to get your brush in tight spaces. Not to mention, I'm painting off camera again, middle of the camera, right here, Mito. All right. So Freak and I were talking earlier today about the next time we're going to play some 40k, and I took Space Wolves to my last battle against Atlas. Go Space Wolves, and that was cool. But next I'm taking my Orks against Freak, and that is because I was asking him. I said, "Would you prefer to play against my White Scars or my Orks?" Because I've painted up new stuff for both of them. And he said he didn't have a preference one way or the other. I could bring whatever I wanted. And it occurred to me that I haven't had a chance to put that party bus Bone Breaker onto the battlefield since I've finished it up. And so that sucker has got to get some time on the table. Now, because it is freshly painted and brand new, maiden voyage and all that kind of stuff, it's probably going to get like some unlucky last cannon hits first turn and get blown up immediately. But who knows? Hopefully it'll do something cool. That happened to you guys? Just finish a model, brand new model, just put it together, or just paint it if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to play it until it's painted. And as soon as you get it done and ready to go, boom! First battle always goes horribly. Exploded right away. Come on, focus in, focus in, focus in, focus in. Y'all, that used to happen to me. Well, that still happens to me a ton. I feel like that's the rule. There we go. All right. checking in, see how things are going here. See what y'all are up to. Ciao. Good stuff, good stuff. Alright. 7 watching. Very nice. Alright, just making sure I got it pulled up in multiple locations. That way I can see the chat without having to switch screens here. I'm glad I gave that a turnaround. Would have missed all up in there. Somehow missed that whole strip of armor along his jaw. Alright, 4 pairs of pants. Jesus, me. Check that shit out. You know, doing these streams here is also kind of giving me practice on exactly how I want the camera set up and stuff like that for when I'm doing tutorials, because I want to be able to get in nice and close like this. I've done some tutorials before, but the camera was further away and it was kind of hard to see stuff. But like stuff like this shows that, you know, work on my camera placement, the fact that I still got to figure out autofocusing and how to keep that from happening. And I know there's a setting I got to find somewhere. But once I get all that figured out, I can actually do things, and I've got a couple of tutorials I've been wanting to do. Like, I still get questions on my particular shade of orc skin. You know, or my heat bloom effects is another one I get questions on sometimes. Which, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I like my heat bloom effects, but I know a lot of people consider them very overdone and cartoony. You know, because I like doing them a little extra strong, getting that extra bit of vibrant color. As my brother and technical painting expert Weather Pig would say, you know, injecting color into an otherwise what can sometimes read as just a few colors, like, you know, this model here at the moment, you know, there is gray, there's black, and there's green, you know, can read as just a few simplified colors, but finding ways to interject color can definitely put some visual interest in it, right? And I like to do that by things such as my heat bloom effects, where I can get a nice vibrant pop of color that really just affect maybe a gun barrel or exhaust pipe, and so it's not too visually distracting, but gets a nice little bit of a pop of color in there, a little bit of vibrancy to really stand out. Loner, my friend, good to see you. Just putting some gray on some pants. Alright, let me go for some lead belcher. Where did I put First, I'm gonna grab some sneak energy. Mighty Joe, I've lost all interest in 40K. I'm sorry to hear that. Loner, how are you, my man? I'm not bad. It was actually a pretty chill day at work. I've relatively gotten things caught up at work, and it's been pretty chill beyond that. I had a team project I'm working on with Commodore, and we're in a little painting challenge that's called I think it's Heroes and Fodder or Heroes and Minions, and it's supposed to be one hero, which he's taking care of, a Space Marine Judiciary, and I'm doing the minions, and I'm bringing the orcs, and I finished 2 of the minions side is supposed to have 3 models teaming against the one hero, and I finished today 2 of them. So I've got like a little my orc missile launcher guy is actually yeeting a grot attached to this missile here, and I'm actually really pleased with the way that came out. That is pretty much what I envisioned in my head when I set out to do this conversion, so pretty pleased. Yay! It really reminds me of that Samuel L. Jackson meme. I'ma hit a mother trucker with another mother trucker. So I'm pretty pleased. I mean, when you finish a project and it comes out as well as you wanted it in your head, especially when you're doing a conversion, and sometimes at the beginning of a conversion, you know, it sometimes doesn't match up the way you're thinking about it at first. You know, the baby steps of a conversion, it can be all kind of, I don't know if this is going to come out right. And actually seeing it all come together is really pleasing. So I'm really stoked about that. My third member of my minion squad is this little guy here, another little grot. I've got him holding a giant freaking missile like a football, and I've got him pointing at the Space Marine like, you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it. So I think it's gonna be fun. And I almost, because you know the other grot I've got is being yeeted as a freaking missile, it's like I've got him holding this missile as a football and pointing at the Space Marine, almost as he's confident and not yet came to the realization that he's about to get chucked with this freaking missile. So anyways, I had a moment yesterday where the original plan with this third piece, I was about done with the conversion and just messed up when the arm piece snapped off. It was originally this model, Little Grot Oiler, and I drilled out the squig there, and when I was cleaning up the plastic, the arm snapped off and went flying, and I couldn't find the arm anywhere. And the other hand, I'd put a gun on, but that part of the conversion wasn't looking like I wanted it. Well, it didn't seem like it was coming out right, and didn't really seem like it fit, you know, my original thought of what I was going to do with it. And I was frustrated because I was like, man, I almost need to turn this piece in, and I don't know how I'm going to fix this. But when I woke up today, I remembered I had a mech gun with little grots I hadn't finished yet. And I decided to try and loot some of those pieces, and I found a couple of arms that fit it better. A little green stuff, a little sanding, a little scraping with the file. And I think I ended up with a better conversion today for guide number 3 than I actually had yesterday. So the process was frustrating, but I think the end result, I think it's all going to come together, man. So thank you, Leonard. Thank you. All right, looking for some lead. So I typically have a place for all of my paints here, just off to the side. Got a little cabinet here with paint racks. But I never actually put up the lead belcher because no matter what army I'm painting, it gets used, so it typically stays on my desk. And man, let me tell you, there is probably not a paint I misplace more than the freaking lead belcher. It makes no sense. Damn gets will steal anything and not bolt it down. Yep, yep. Dan Skull's Lucky Blue Gits has definitely been rubbing off on me. I was just kind of that's something I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier. Is I used to be really locked into a build it out of the box kind of guy. You know, build it as it comes. And just over the last year or so, you know, just my desire to put my own spins and touches on everything, conversions, and you know, put a piece of me in every piece I put out. You know, it's actually that's been, I don't know, a lot more prevalent lately. You know, everything's got to have my spin on it, my twist, my take. So my plan for these cool little Gearguts missile launchers is I'm just going to dry brush some silver on it first with the lead belcher. I'm going to put some of that Rise of Rust stuff on it. I'm going to put some streaking grime on there because all weathered metal looks better with a bit of streaking grime. And after that, clean it up a bit with a Q-tip. Maybe add back a little bit of the shine coming through from underneath all that grime. Paint the missiles red, and I think that'll come off pretty well. Swing by and say hi. Gotta hit the hay. Man, rest well and don't work too hard tomorrow, man. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush after that and give the helmet the same treatment. Dry brush lead belcher, a little bit of Rise of Rust, a bit of streaking grime. I just I want to do it to the helmet so that way it ties the colors of the helmet to the gun, but I don't want to use such a big brush because I don't want to get it all over the face that I airbrushed in. But I think having those same colors, they say that some of your spot colors you should think of in a triangle. So I'm thinking like have the weapon rusty metal, have the helmet rusty metal, and then maybe like one of the bracers be rusty metal too, and that'll kind of give that triangle kind of appearance. It's kind of a thought. It's funny. I'm so glad. My brothers Meeks and brother Rich from Spray Black Studios both got me hooked on using this AK Interactive Streaking Grime. And I swear, the weathering I used to do to orc metal, it used to take me 3 times as long now, but with the Streaking Grime, man, it just kind of does everything you want it to with one coat. It's crazy. Of course, you know, there's also like the customization. You know, you can use that Q-tip to go in and clean it up later to have as much or a little grime showing as you want. But yeah, it's just like one coat of streaking grime could really make all the difference. You want different colors too, you can compound it with a bit of an oil wash, you know, to give it a little bit of a dirtier effect, or if you want to use some other colors, maybe a patina effect. It's just so great. I was almost mad when I came across streaking grime because I was like, man, I have been doing metal weathering the hard way for so long. Like, it could have been this easy the whole time. Stop doing that, Mythos. Alright, so like I said, this is my third week doing this weekly painting stream. And as such, I'm still learning. And I think my biggest takeaway from tonight is, God damn it, Mythos, put that camera up higher so you don't slap it around so much. Freakalicious, sup, homie? What up, baby? That freakaliciousness, my favorite. Well, I was gonna say my favorite Imperial fist, but I mean, Kami's a fist too. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick between two fists, guys. Take that how you will. Take that how you will. All right, babe? Thanks, man. Back again after grabbing coffee. About to go to lockdown again. Oh, that's a shame. Have you had many games lately? None. I had a game against Atlas about 5 weeks ago now, I think. With my Wolves. And it was a really good game. My Wolves did pull out the W, though. But haven't had one since then. Although Freak and I are looking to get in a game in a few weeks. And I will be taking my work, so it might behoove me to have some of these DACA boys shooting missiles and getting rerolls to hit against vehicles. Have some of these guys ready for our game. That'll be cool. Man, Freak, earlier I couldn't. I when I started the stream, I couldn't figure out how to get myself unmuted for a while. I had to go into properties like 3 times and get switch over from. I had to switch back to default and then back to the Yeti and then back to default and then back to the Yeti. And I think the third time I did it, it seemed to work. But for some reason, it kept switching off of my my Yeti mic. I'm not sure why. But eventually we got things working. So it's all gravy, baby. All right, I'll let these DACA boys sit here for a minute, since I'm dry brushing silver anyways. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Now, I didn't do any of the cleanup on these guys earlier because I was still working on the tank busters, but couldn't have the silver out here and not dry brush some of these cool, big ass guns here. Got to get that DACA going. DACA. First of the year, nice. We definitely got to get in some games then. Yeah, I'm stoked about that, Meeks. Got to get in some serious hangout time. There we go. I'm liking that. You know, I was talking a couple weeks ago with a friend, and we were talking about how, you know, it's crazy when you just lay down this green skin on an orc, even with just primer on, when you do the skin, it already starts to kind of bring the model to life. You know, you can already put that on the table and say that's an orc. And I think once you silver up the weapons, I mean, that's like the next step, man. Just like, I'm not saying I would play with, you know, with it only half painted and with overspray everywhere, but just saying, from several feet away, you see the green skin, you see the silver, the big ass gun, and you'd be like, that's Luda. Oof. Man, I think it's funny how bougie I've gotten. Not that I mind playing other people with gray armies. I just try and paint up everything before I play it on the table myself. And I did not used to be that way. I think integrating my hobby into YouTube became part of it. But yeah, it used to be, we have several battle reports where, you know, it was kind of like our battle reports were also kind of like documenting how far I was coming with my AdMech army, because we did our very first battle report with my AdMech, and like every unit was just prime black, and then every battle report we did after that, and back then we were doing like almost weekly battle reports. You know, there would be a little more of the army painted every single week. But yeah, so for the longest time I played with my AdMech as just primer with spot colors across my army. And now I typically won't put that unit on the table until it's mostly painted. If I'm really trying to rush at the end there, you know, if I'm like, I tried to get it done in time, it's 80% complete, you know, I'll probably still put it on the table, but unless I'm filming. But yeah, it used to be nothing for me to play unpainted models. Now, again, I have no problem with my opponents doing it, but now, because I guess I have such a big collection of, like, you know, 4 relatively fully painted armies, that I try not to pay with anything unpainted now. And I think it's just because I have the options, you know? I have heard a few people say before that they wouldn't play at all against an unpainted army. I've never felt like that, you know. A lot of my friends were into the play side, but not necessarily the hobby side. You know, so I understand that not everybody wants to be a painter. I enjoy doing the painting. I think painting's kind of become the massive part of the hobby for me. And I think as much as I love the game has become kind of secondary to the painting. Kind of. I mean, in a way, I still paint pieces that I want to be able to field in game. So, I mean, it's about half and half. Very seldom will I paint a piece that I can't play in game at all. But for the most part, like, I spend way more time painting and hobbying than I do playing. Wolfwraith, Papa Wolfwraith, congratulations again, my man. Good to see you. Welcome back, my friend. Welcome back indeed. Man, I know you have one big congratulations going on. I hope the rest of life has been treating you well, too, man. I have missed that bearded face on the Twitch. It's going pretty well. It's not going bad at all. I finally got a setup to be able to paint and stream. Much like yourself, only without, you know, all the professional painting chops that you got. You know, or all the professional streaming chops now that I think about it, because on Twitch you got like all the fancy gadgets and whatnot. Or like the follows and everything. You got a really good setup for streaming. But you know what? This is only like my third painting and painting and streaming kind of setup. With this new gear and stuff like that, and I feel like I'm learning. You know, I'll get to like, you know, your level of talented Twitch painter and streamer eventually. Well, at least for the painting and streaming genre. I'm definitely never claiming that I'm going to be able to paint like a Wolfwraith eventually. Thanks, man. Thank you very much. Like I said, I'm brand new. This is 3 weeks of painting with this setup, and I would say for the first half hour, the stream was super blurry. It still kind of is, and I need to remember to paint right here in the middle of the camera, so that way I'm not throwing off the autofocus. But I'm learning. I know some things like painting on camera and stuff like that just comes with practice and time. Also, I need to make sure I put the camera up a little higher next time, because I must have, if I had a counter going for the number of times that I've smacked the camera tonight, I'd probably be in my 50s at the moment. Autofocus is your enemy. Yes. Yes, that has been a battle. I need to find that setting tonight after the stream and see if I can disable it. I remember I came across it once or twice, and I don't remember how I did it or how I fixed it. So, got to look into that tonight. So, but other than that, like I said, I am still learning, and I will get things right eventually. All right. 5 big guns, nice and shinied up, just so that way I can rust them and streak and grime them back down later. Missed a whole line of that gauntlet there. I think I got it now. And where I came in and got all these chest and leather straps earlier, I can see with my paint being so thin, some of these spots need a second layer to try and get that opacity. That's been like most of my stream tonight, is just basically cleaning up the overspray on the skin. But airbrushing the orc skin gives me that vibrant green orc skin that I really love. So it's a give and take, and I think the more that I do it, you know, maybe the less I'll actually get overspray from it. Wolfwraith, while I got you here, I know some of you are probably like tired of seeing this by now, but I just wanted to show off to Wolfwraith here. Check out this little conversion piece I finished up today. There we go. So I've got an orc boy holding onto a grot with a rocket strapped to his back. You ready to yeet? I feel like anytime I make a successful hit roll with this guy, I've got to scream out yeet. Yeet. If I don't yeet, then the hit cannot land. You rule. Thank you, my brother. And this all the Orc and Grot Duo minis. It's awesome. Absolutely. Oh, for those of you who saw my Bonebreaker battle wagon with a little Grot rock guitarist on top, with the little stage that I built up, that guitarist is like my favorite part of the battle wagon I did. And apparently my brother Atlas loved it too, and he came across a little used orc mini. It's an orc playing some drums that are like strapped to his chest, and he picked that mini up for me to add to my little orc band. So I think that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it is sad that they don't do them anymore. Those little duos do tend to look pretty cool. There is Gorzag, I think his name, that they released recently. That was kind of the combo with his Grot companion. Gorzag Get Stumpa. That Grot reminded me of Mad Max. That's kind of the vibe I was going for. How did I miss this whole right side of his helmet? How, fam? Tell me. How did I miss that? So there was this video game back on the Xbox 360 days called Rock Band. And at the start of the game, Mad Max style, you and your band are like playing on top of. First, you're playing your music on top of a van, and then like it as the intro goes on, like there are some crashes, and next thing you know, you land on top of an 18-wheeler, and you're performing there. And the intro to Rock Band is kind of my inspiration, because you know in Rock Band they were doing kind of a metal Mad Max kind of scene, and so that intro to Rock Band was kind of my inspiration when I was doing my my little Grot rocker. Keep it in the middle. Keep them in the middle. So these guys are kind of interesting to me because they represent, you know, my shooty part of my orcs. When I first got into orcs, I was like against the idea that a lot of people do orcs as a shooty style army. Because I was like, they're orcs. They're supposed to get up in people's faces and punch them in the face. And largely, I still feel that way. I play Goths that are all about reveling in combat. However, I have identified that they need some fire support. And so these two units, this missile launcher unit and the big cannon guys there, the Ludas, really kind of represent my foray into the shooting of orcs, along with one other unit of my Death Dreads, because I have a couple of them tooled up for shooting too. And with them, there's a whole trick going where I'm going to spend a command point to give them, you know, sparkly bits and have them all hitting on 4s instead of 5s. One of them is done by the Pale Orc. It's got like 4 custom Mega Blasters that'll all be hitting on 4s. And then I've got another one, 2 Mega Blasters, and then another one with 2 missiles. That's going to be cool. Lurk away, my friend. Definitely feed that baby. Feed that baby. Always thought orcs should be combat focused. A friend I played against tried to make them super shooty and didn't do well. But definitely, but I think fluff wise it fits. I agree. The only thing is that orcs want the biggest, loudest stuff, most killy stuff. Absolutely. So with my orcs, the reason I figured, and it took me a few losses with my orcs to figure it out, but one of the reasons why I felt like I need more of a covering fire component with my orcs is because I was trying to play them like my other combat armies, the White Scars and Space Wolves. But see, both of those are very elite. They've got good saves, they've got toughness and durability. And, you know, when they finally make it into combat, of course, they can deal a lot of damage. Orcs can deal a good amount of damage if you tool them up right. But first of all, you have to tool them up right. Like your average Orc Boy squad is going to be like a load of, you know, 30, 40 strength or AP 0 hits that are probably going to be saved. And so you might kill one thing with like 30 or 40 hits. But if you run the smaller units and put a power weapon in each of them, you know, you've got a better chance of killing more stuff with the hits there, at least in my opinion. But even then, you know, even if it's a big blob or a small blob, you know, they just don't have that same survivability like Marines are going to want to do. So whereas with my Space Wolves, I can slap storm shields on them and run them directly up the field and punch something in the face, and I don't have to worry nearly as much about the backlash. With my orcs, I came to find out that by just going straight up the field and trying to punch stuff, sometimes I would be shot before I got there. There's even been a couple of times where I got into combat but didn't kill enough, and like Marines or in one case even guards would just turn around and kill me. And it was just like, that's because, you know, orcs don't really have any survivability. They swarm, but they die to a good stiff breeze. And some, you know, I had to think about them a little more tactically. And then I slowly started adding, you know, some shooty components in, and like still letting the punchy stuff do the punching, but by adding in other components, you know, and making a better, more well-rounded army. I think, yeah. Orcs, for me, take a little bit more forethought into running them than just, say, my combat-focused Space Marines. Yes, non-power armor definitely makes you need a cohesive plan. You're absolutely right. All right, what are we doing next, guys? I think I could start rusting, or I could do some more details. I think for these faces, these eyes, and these teeth, I'm going to want to hold them up close where I can actually see them, like right here. So I think I'm going to start rusting up these weapons a little bit. So we are going to use a brush that I've thoroughly chunked out. What's your paint on? I don't know what the right way to use Riser Rust is, but I'm just showing you guys what I like to do. But I like to get it on a chunky brush and dab it in the places that I want it. But then when it's just sitting on the metal, it doesn't look right to me, right? Now there are some, like right there, because I've been able to just rub it in with the brush there. It looks a little more natural. But like typically, when you first dab it on, it looks a little off to me. But then I always go in with my finger typically. Sometimes I'll use a little bit of a sponge or a stiff brush that's clean. But yeah, typically the Riser Rust doesn't look good to me until I get in there and I get a chance to just rub it in. Rub it in, rub it in. Where's that from? Oh, that's the Glade commercial. Plug it in, plug it in. What am I quoting? Telling you guys, I get that way sometimes. What am I saying? What am I talking about? But yeah, once I, get in there and really rub it with my finger or a stiff brush, it starts to look a little more natural. And of course, I am going to filter over all this with streak and grime anyways. But I just try and scrub it as best as I can. All right, that's on its way to being grimy. That side's pretty grubby. Actually, I think use a little more on the edge. Again, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that this is the right way to use Riser Rust. This is just the way that I've found works for me. Nice. Okay. That's what I wanted. Yeah, I have to admit, that is not what I expected when I first started playing Orks. I feel like in general, I have to apply more strategy when I'm playing my Orks than when I'm playing Space Marines. Again, this could just be me. I'm not saying that this is the way it is for everyone. I'm not saying that I am a competent, or competitive player. So this is true and accurate. This is just my perception of things. And it could be because I learned as a Space Marine player. So therefore, maybe Space Marine you know, strategies come a little more naturally to me. But yeah, definitely, because I feel like they can take the hits. You know, being a Space Marine player, being as tanky as a Space Marine is, you know, it's just, I still have to put thought into what I do as a Space Marine, but I feel like I have to put more thought in when I'm playing my orcs. Or I forget, what are the new AdMech models? I didn't see them on the GW site. I was thinking those Tankmen and Rustalkers would round out my little display force. Both of those are very cool models. Last year, of course, they put out the stuff like the Grav Tank and Grav Tank Transport. The Transport in particular looks a bit like a World War II Beaches of Normandy kind of transport. It's pretty cool. Also, the tank version of that, the non-transport version, has like a cannon that's indirect fire. It looks pretty cool. They had the Cowboy Dog Raiders, which I think are a really cool unit. They're like space robo dog cavalry, which is pretty awesome. They're one of the best screening units right now. Screening unit / objective campers. There's the Da Vinci style flying machine inspired flyer for the AdMech, as well as Da Vinci flying machine inspired jump pack units that they have. They're called Taraxi units. Taraxi with a PT sound. Those are pretty neat. And then, as a recent model, just this week announced, or last week? No, last week announced. There's the Skitarii, Marshall, which is a new HQ, and I think it's like currently the cheapest AdMech HQ because it's like 55 points, and the Marshall's pretty cool. Yes, the Scorpius and the Dog Raiders. I could see where their aesthetic doesn't quite fit. Well, as far as things that do match the old school AdMech Skitarii aesthetic, you know, going back to that like 40K, you know, post-apocalyptic punk kind of feel, you know, borderline steampunk, diesel punk, as I think I've heard D refer to it as. The new Skitarii Marshall really fits the old school AdMech vibe a lot, so I think you'd like those. In fact, since I'm just sitting here scraping rust onto my guns, Skitarii Marshall. All right, so I just pulled it up on my other screen, and that's the Skitarii Marshall. Kaiju, my man. Pretty cool looking. But yeah, it's got that old school Skitarii kind of feel. Got the servo skull. It's got a pretty neat, you know. It's called a pistol. It's about the size of a sawed-off shotgun. And this baton he's got here is actually pretty cool in combat too. I think it's got like a upgraded mace kind of profile. But yeah, he's definitely rocking that whole kind of steampunk vibe. Yes, his pimp stick is pretty awesome. The stick of the Mangda. What the heck? This is bothering me. Oh, damn it, Mythos. Camera is attached to the drawer. Okay. It's just bothering me. I have a commander here attached to my model. Drives me crazy how often commander hairs actually stick to some of my layers of paint. Man, I have been listening. I think I've got a growing obsession with true crime YouTubers right now. Like, my wife recently got me into one named Bailey Sarian. Covers true crime with her Monday videos. Makeup and a Murder, I think it's called. And then I listened to one that's like a mukbanger named Stephanie Sue. Hobby after the show on Friday? Unfortunately not. This is my weekend to go over and take care of my grandmother, so I'll be doing that after the show. But not for me anyways. As I always say, if anyone else wants to host, get an after party going, do a little hobby and hang out, by all means, I will be there in spirit. But yeah, I got to go take care of my grandmother after the show. Commander Hair salute. Shepherd. Speaking of my commander, the Shepherd, my wife and I picked up that the remaster is the word. I was about to say remake, and I was like, well, no, it's the same game, just upgraded graphics. But the remastered Mass Effect, and it's so good. I'm having just a blast with it. I got in surprisingly little time on the game this past weekend. And this coming weekend, like I said, I'm taking care of my grandmother all weekend. So, I'm not going to have much time to play on it for a couple of weeks. Which is a shame, but for a good cause. And I think the weekend after that might be the next wrestling pay-per-view. So actually, I think I won't be doing Mass Effect for a few weekends. My girlfriend loves the makeup and true crime one. Bailey Sarian. Nice. That's cool. We got something in common, Weather Pig, my man. Lily got me onto Bailey Sarian because I was already listening to Stephanie Sue, which is true crime and mukbang. And I don't know how these things go together. Delicious food from the mukbang and true crime. But somehow they do go together, and I freaking love her show. Although, I've always been suspicious of other people. And I think listening to all this true crime made me lose even more faith in humanity. So now I just really look at people sideways when I go out in public. Like, is this going to be one of those guys who tries to run off with my family, carjack me, and take hostages. Oh man, I've been tempted. I've had the urge to resurrect my Renegade Shepherd, aka Terminator Shepherd. See, there's a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance re-release too. Oof. That's a tough choice. That's a tough choice. Although for me, like, I love RPGs and role-playing in general. And those particular style ones have been some of my favorite games of all time. Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Knights of the Old Republic. It's all that same kind of style of role-playing game, RPG. And those are my top 3 favorite video games of all time. So, like, there was everything I want that's coming out right now. Like, at the same time, we also got Resident Evil Village. Really want to play that. But pretty much everything else has gone on hold for these for the re-release of Mass Effect. Oh man, I need to look up. I bet you somewhere out there has capitalized in on the popularity of these Mass Effect remake. I bet you someone out there at least has either models or maybe STL files of models that can be printed for Mass Effect. That would be cool. Oh man, I'd love to paint up a Shepard and like a Krogan. Yeah, speaking of Krogan, oh my goodness. Delicious food and true crime. Sounds like a Hannibal connection. Possibly. Give me one sec, guys. I have something I want to run by you. Oh yeah, I've definitely got to get a model of the Normandy to paint up. Okay, guys, check this out. So I've showed you guys, I've showed off this guy on our Friday night live stream before, but this is an orc freak printed up for me and painted for me for Christmas, and this is badass. And I'm the kind of guy that in every army I do, I have to have a version of Mythos in there somewhere. Like in my Space Wolves, I have actually a Wolf Lord Mythos because that was my first army. I'm the Wolfbrother. You guys know how it is. You know what it do. And then my White Scars, I've got one I'm working on as a Mythos, who is going to be Arun Khan, which means the Khan of the Dawn. And my mom told me that if she had been allowed to name me in Thai, she would have gone with the name Arun, which means Dawn. And so this will be my Blade Guard Captain, Arun, he'll be Arun Khan. So that's my Mythos and my White Scars. I haven't done anything for AdMech yet, but for orcs, I was like, there's not really an orc that I feel like I want to. And I had been waiting to get like a WoW Thrall kind of orc with, you know, the hair and the hammer. But then when Freak 3D printed me this one, I was like, this is it. That beast is going to be a Mythos. Okay, so this is the model. But then I'd had trouble kind of coming up with a character and story for Mythos as an orc. And then I thought about a Krogan is really just a Mass Effect orc, if you think about it. You know, as far as their culture and everything like that, and their battle lust and nature and whatnot. Even down to the way that they've been kind of you know, controlled by their creators because they were too much of a threat. And so this is the model I chose to go with, and I was like, okay, well, what kind of background story or name, like what would I name myself as an orc? And I struggled with that for a few weeks, so this went back and sat on the shelf again for another month or so while I puzzled all that out. And it hit me with the re-release of this Mass Effect trilogy that I wanted to pay homage to one of my favorite games of all time, Mass Effect. And I decided that this guy, me as an orc, would be Erdnot Rex. Now, Rex is, of course, one of the Krogan in Mass Effect 1. and his name is Rex, as in like a dog's name, R-E-X, right? But this guy is going to be Erdnot Rex, R-W-R-E-K-Z. He's going to be called Rex because he does the wrecking. So yeah, this guy, and of course my orcs, which I've had a few people ask me before if I've named my orc army, and my particular orc army is going to be the Wreckers, because they're led by Rex and they do the wrecking. Anyways, yeah, just kind of want to share that overlap of Mass Effect and what? The Reckoning. I love it. So yeah, I just wanted to share that little Mass Effect 40K overlap there with you guys. Let's see. Krogans could sit in a few armies, really. They could be Ogryn and Guard, or Tyranids that found some armor. Nice. Yeah, absolutely they could. All right, guys, I'm going to give it another 6 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up around 8 o'clock here. So that way I can have some dinner with my lovely Lily and the kiddos. And we're a few days behind, so we are going to watch some Monday Night Raw together. Which will be cool. And then probably between streams, just because I know the airbrush can get kind of loud on camera sometimes. So between streams, I'll probably finish up greasing up these guns and missile launchers, and then doing my heat bloom effect on the end of these guns before the next stream. I think that would be cool. Also, I feel like it's kind of neat that I've named myself after a Mass Effect character. Because, as you guys know, I have a dog named Commander Shepherd. A commander who's a shepherd, so, you know, my dog's got a Mass Effect name, and now I've got a Mass Effect name too. I think that's, you know. We match now, you know? Actually made a pretty fair amount of progress on these orcs tonight, more than I thought I was going to. Dab, 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 dab. Yes, listening to all these true crime stories can be really scary when you're like, you come to realize how many people are really just out there waiting for their opportunity to, you know, pull someone aside, run off with them, take them captive, murder them, assault them. It's just crazy. There's like, seems like it's more prevalent out there than, you know, one would think. Be some scary stuff, guys. And the crazy thing is that, you know, I mentioned this to one of my friends, and they were like, well, of course, man, that's in the States. That's where you guys have all the weapons and stuff like that. But the crazy thing is that a lot of these true crime stories I listen to, yeah, there's a fair few in the States, but I mean, they're really all over the place. You know, the stories come from a variety of places that they've covered, and these stories come from, you know, Canada, the UK, Australia has come up in a fair few, you know, Germany. It's just like these stories are kind of everywhere. And I've gone a bit heavy with the rust on this one, haven't I? It'll be alright. What I do with a lot of these after I do all the rust and the dirt and grime, if I feel like I've gone overboard, is I'll give it a dry brush with a more translucent silver. Like this one is an incredibly cheap. I mean, Dollar and Roundy's not a bad brand. Dollar and Roundy makes like a lot of artist ink and stuff like that, but they use this. It's called Silver Hue, and in this case, the way they've used hues, because it's got like a translucent quality, and you know, so there's a lot more medium than there is the silver paint, and so because of that, I can apply a really thin layer on top of these metallics after I've already done the weathering. And once I mat it down and tie it all together, you'll see some of that shininess there, but it allows a lot of that weathering underneath to really come through. So a translucent silver can really be helpful. It comes out super, super thick too, guys. Check this out. Boop. Just a little drop of that. It's so thick it's standing up on its own. See that? But when I'm working with it on a model, just grab one of my junk brushes here. Okay, when I'm working with it on a model, it spreads out really, really nice and thin. So you could really just put like a thin layer over some metallics that you've already weathered the crap out of. They've already got their rust effects, their pigments, their streak and grime, all that stuff. And you can just, again, this is on a smooth Pringles lid here, so of course, you know, it's not wanting to stick, but just to show you guys, you can, even though it comes out goopy, you can get this stuff really, really thin, and once you matte coat over it, it just kind of gives a silvery finish to whatever you've spread it out on. Take this gun. I'm not done weathering it, but just to kind of show you. Boop. You can apply really, really thin, and it's just giving that shiny bit of metal pulling through. And it's casting off a lot of reflection because it's glossy now. It's shiny. But you can see, like, just from there, and I haven't even matted it down yet, but you can see some of that rust effect still showing through. It's just got like a really thin sheen of silver on top. So anyways, that silver hue, that very translucent silver, is my trick for doing my weathered metallic look for my orcs. You know, it's funny. I think one of the things I really enjoy about my orcs is the fact that I do weather them. You know, kind of a lot for me, anyways. And I think that's just because, like, my other armies, my Space Marine armies, my AdMech armies, like my other armies, I don't really do that much weathering. Weathering for me on those other armies is like, you know, dirt around the legs or dirt on the cape where it's been exposed. But like with the orcs, I'm like, yeah, I want some really corroded metal, and you know, I want dirt caked up in the wheel wells and stuff like that. When I remember what scale you're working with, it always makes me wonder how you guys do it. The Pringles lid just gave me some perspective. Oh. Yeah, it's a small scale, although there's some that just really blow my mind with. You know, some people who do like fantastic paint jobs on things like, you know, is it 15 or 16 millimeter scale, 10 millimeter scale even? I'm just like, wow, I don't even how, you know, they're painting faces, and you know, I've even seen one person paint eyes at like 15 millimeter, and I'm just like, but how? But how though? Rub it in, rub it in. All right, it is 3 guns, nice and rusted up. And the other 2 will have to wait. But like I said, guys, got way more done tonight than I expected. All right, guys, so that is where we are tonight. We've got 3 orcs with big old rusty guns. And actually, I think that's looking pretty good at that angle. Those effects coming out nicely. 2 that are just silvered up. Slide, slide, slide. Slide and slide. Now let's rotate these guys so their guns are showing. There we go. Then we got 5 orcs whose black leather has been cleaned up, and they've had their weapons silvered and rustified. That's, I mean, that doesn't seem like a ton of progress, but I think really cleaning up the overspray and cleaning up those black leather areas has been like the thing that took the most time, and actually knocking out a tedious task like that, hanging out with you guys is actually a super big help for me. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining. Definitely make sure to catch us on Friday when we do our Friday night live chat. Me and Freak hanging out, and yeah, hope to see you guys there. If you guys liked tonight's show, then please make sure that you grab up an ox and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. Guys, drop me some comments down below, especially if you're watching from the archive, and feel free to be part of any of these conversations. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to any of my Chilling Network brothers down below, Or if you're not subscribed to this channel, then we would love to have you as part of the pack here on the Frost and Fists. I will absolutely enjoy the wrestling, Kaiju, my brother. You have a wonderful night, everybody. And until next time, guys, stay frosty.